because our last meeting, we had 37 views. So our summer meetings seem to be very popular videos for people to watch. So with that, oh, and here comes Sharon. So why don't we just go around, I'm not gonna call on you, just go ahead and if you could just say, hi Sharon, who you are and maybe what school district you're from, just so that everybody gets acquainted with who's on today. Melissa, I'll just start with you.
Okay, I'm Melissa Schmidt. I'm in Albert Lee, small school district 241 down in southern Minnesota. So I do the role of parent educator, early childhood teacher, lead teacher for both ECFE and school readiness. So yeah.
Great.
I'm Pat Rodney, and I have been here before. Yes. And I'm eating, so I will put my cap back on up. But yeah, I work at Northfield Public Schools in their ECFE. I'm a early childhood teacher. And I work with Ellen. You probably know Ellen.
Yep.
I'm Sarah Hardy. I work for Edina Public Schools. And I'm a parent educator.
Hi, I am Deborah Goebel, and I'm with the Bloomington Public Schools. And my background is parent ed and some early childhood, but I'm my title is ECFE coordinator, but I'm still as a teacher, so it's more like a TOSA position that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Great. Hi, Deb.
I'm Sam Tyson. I'm from Chisago Lakes up here north of the cities, and I am parent educator, but I also do a little bit in ECFE.
I'm Sharon Knies. I'm from St. Paul. I've been in one of these meetings before, a couple of these meetings before. I appreciate being able to listen in to hear what other districts and other programs are doing. I'm an early childhood teacher, lead teacher in St. Paul.
Terrific.
Hi, I'm assuming we're doing introductions. I just got on, sorry. I am Jen Jaros. I coordinate ECFE in Duluth. I'm a licensed parent educator and early childhood teacher, but am also in a TOSA position as the coordinator of ECFE in Duluth. And I'm expecting several phone calls, so I might just disappear again. So thank you for allowing me to be on and then leave when I have to.
Yes, thanks, Jen. Let's see. Joy, I see that you just joined us. Just to let you know, we're just going around introducing ourselves. So,
hi, I'm Joy, a parent educator in Edina at the Early Learning Center. This past year, I worked with 2s and 3s and parents of 7 and 8-year-olds, and I haven't been to one lately, so I'm looking forward to trying to get my head back in thinking about school mode.
good. Thanks. Let's see. Shelley. Oh. Oh. Shelley, do you want us to come back to you? All right. Let's see, who do we have? Jenny, Carlin? Oh.
There we are.
There we are.
Hi, I just got here. Do you just want me to say who I am?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah,
What is it? Okay, Jenny Carlin from East Central. I'm a preschool teacher and the acting parent educator as well.
Wonderful. Let's see. Shelley has rejoined us. Up. Still no video or audio there. That's weird, huh? Well, You can chat, and then I'm sure you can figure it out though. I'm sure it's just something small. And then I think that might be everybody except for Brelibert, Bree Libert.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Brenda. I'm
Oh,
Brenda.
hi.
I work with Joy and Sarah Hardy in Edina, and I'm a parent educator and early childhood teacher. I work with primarily babies and toddlers in the school year as an early childhood teacher and a parent educator with baby and meet classes. So this is my first time sitting in on one of your lectures, and I appreciate you letting me be here. Thank you.
Well, wonderful. Only I don't plan on lecturing today.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for letting me be here anyway.
And everybody else anyway. Well, hi everybody. It's great to see you all. And Shelley, at some point it'll be great to hear you. So what would you like to talk about? I've got a question. You know, I always have my little thing of questions if things die down, but this is your floor, this is your space. So hold forth. What do you want to ask each other?
I had a conversation with my coordinator today. We, talk about all things early childhood. So of course we started in the preschool world. We talked about we're opening a daycare for our childcare for our employees. That's like a new thing. So we talked about that a little bit. And then when we got to ECFE and I said I wanted to talk a little bit about ECFE, the response was, I don't think we can do anything with ECFE yet. We have to just wait until we get any guidance at all, because she was under the impression that they were going to give us specific guidelines around ECFE. And I'm just wondering if anyone else is feeling that. I told her that I didn't expect that at all, that my guess was the guidance around ECFE is going to be more around our cleaning necessities. Maybe they'll tell us we can't provide snacks if we do have any in person, and then probably limiting the number of people who gather. Like that's the most I'm really expecting to be pushed down from ECFE. And I guess I just kind of wonder, we were on such different wavelengths around it. I'm kind of wondering what everybody else's thoughts, because I know nobody has gotten the guidance yet. So we don't know what's coming, but I'm just wondering kind of where everybody else's head is around what they're kind of expecting to get in this guidance in general. If that makes sense.
And Melissa, when you say guidance, do you mean like the top down, what's coming from MDE?
Yeah, I mean that governor guidance that's supposed to come July 27th, because we start legitimately the next week. We will have 8 days of planning before our teachers are there after we get that guidance. Why we have not pushed back our start date, I don't have that kind of control, but we will be starting 8 days later. So that's not a lot of planning time. So I'm trying my best to guess what's coming our way. And because we were on just such different wavelengths of it, I guess I'm just kind of wondering what your general feel of what you think might be coming our way is.
Well, in Bloomington, I just met with our ECFE teachers and the director and the community ed director. And basically, we're just trying to follow the model of the district and be included in the district. And so they're going, with the 3 different models, the traditional, the hybrid, and the, we're calling it distance learning 2.0, or they are in Bloomington. So we're kind of following the lead of the district and planning, and then we'll make adjustments, after the 27th of July.
Okay, I wanted to say that I posted this question on the Friends of Family Ed Facebook group. Similar question, Melissa, to yours, like what is everyone hearing? And someone who I don't know named, sorry, I'm trying to do this at the same time, Alicia Best, posted pictures of a couple of pages from a education.mn.gov guidance document. that I only scanned. I didn't read, but they are specific to early learning. I also don't know what the date of this guidance document was. But there are some pretty specific, and they are similar, like you're saying, Deborah, to what I understand the guidance to be for K5. But there is some pretty detailed language there. Does anybody know exactly what it is that Alicia posted? Because I have to admit I haven't gone back to really read it yet.
I didn't see that, Sarah, but is it the MDE thing that's several pages?
It was a couple of pages of something that looked to be pages and pages long.
Mhm. I've read the pages that affect ECFE.
65 and page 60, I don't know, maybe somebody else knows, 64, 65, it looks like, and 66 maybe is what she posted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know exactly what document that is or when it was dated. And I got preoccupied with some other stuff, so I didn't go back to it yet.
Wasn't that written in March?
Is this a March one?
Yeah, for the first, for us to end school from March to May. It sounds like it.
No, I believe that there are updates to that document that are basically asking ECFE parent educators to think outside the box and be supportive of all parents in whatever way possible. I mean, that's basically what it says, right, Sarah? Like, that we are here to support all parents into the elementary grades, and however districts want to use us, they can use us. It's kind of how, that's really my take, but I mean.
And I guess that's why I was expecting the further guidance for us to probably be pretty generic as well, is because that was our guidance back in March, and the updated one really updated some specifics in other areas, but really didn't change our update in ECFE. It really was support your parents in however you see fit. And so I'm expecting that if anything specific comes down, it's more around the cleaning, the number of people, the teachers wearing masks, that kind of stuff, but not in the guidance of whether or not we're offering this many classes or that many classes. I'm not expecting anything that specific.
Yeah, I think all of those will be district decisions. And if you're like our district, we're barely thought of, and we will just create our own based off of reacting to everybody else's. So I don't think it's going to be that specific at all.
Okay, I've just figured that I just confirmed that this what she posted is from the June 18th, 2020 guidance document. And if you click,
and I'm sharing the pages that she posted.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and I haven't read them, but I can't comment on the specifics, but this is the June document. So we think that there's going to be more coming out specific to early learning on July 27th.
That's my understanding, is July 27th is supposed to be an overall update for all, for the whole state, coming from the governor. I think it's supposed to be like back when he was doing his 2 o'clock meetings. It's supposed to be some sort of announcement like that. And I don't think it's coming on the 27th. I think it's the week of the 27th is what we're told. So I'm expecting it Friday, because that's what will give us the 8 days. If we actually get it on the 27th, I'll have like almost 2 whole weeks to work on it. So
my understanding is what we'll hear on the 27th is which of the 3 scenarios we might be going with. Okay, I see heads nodding. So that's the face-to-face, online, or hybrid, right? I'm interested in hearing what people are thinking about for hybrid, because that's never truly been defined in any document that I've seen. I think face-to-face, we kind of know we do a class with smaller, less families, or what online is, it'll be a continuation, but what is hybrid? So I'm just curious what we know now, because I'm anticipating on the 27th or a date thereafter, we're going to find out, okay, you're doing hybrid, go for it. And what would that even be?
That's one of the other things that we talked about today too, is for the hybrid scenario, really the main purpose for that is to reduce your class size. And because we're a smaller district, we see the possibility of, if we did that, we'll still just offer it exactly like we always have, just smaller classes. So we might have 1 or 2 more sessions we need to add, but we're probably gonna just continue like it's in-person regular classes and just reduce the number of students for it. So if we have to add an afternoon session, because normally for our 3s classes, we only had the morning sessions anyway. So we'll add an afternoon one. For our ECFE classes, same thing. We'll just run it smaller. And if we end up having enough people sign up that we need to do a second one, we will. But we're kind of expecting the numbers to be lower if it is some sort of hybrid thing. It's because people will still be concerned and we won't have the same number of people signing up anyway. Is anyone else kind of on that wavelength?
We're planning on doing a hybrid model where we have in classes, we have families, smaller numbers of families, but we're also giving families an option to participate virtually in the same class. So while we're in person with whatever, 4, 5, 6 parents and kids, then we're also streaming that live through Zoom with families participating at home.
Ellen, will you be doing also, because that's one thing I was kind of toying with, will you be doing that and also another only virtual class?
We're not talking about only virtual just yet.
Okay.
We're going to try to go for a 5-week session in the fall.
Okay.
And just see how that goes. We really want to try to build some relationships before we have to go, strictly to virtual. So trying to get families in person, but we have some families with some real high risk issues who we know are not going to come to class with cancer in the family or whatever. So we have to be mindful of that. And some of these groups, they've been with these groups for years and they want to be together. And they want to participate. So
one of the things that I was concerned about in doing it live together, I'm sorry, if I'm talking too much, someone else needs to jump in, just cut me off. But one of my concerns with that is I feel like it's really polarized right now, where there's some people who are going to be showing up in person that are going to think that the people that are staying home are being ridiculous, and vice versa. I can't believe you're showing up in person. This should all be virtual and you're actually sitting there right now. And I'm kind of concerned about that relationship and whether or not that'll be harder for them to connect in those parenting groups, because their philosophies of right now might not be on the same page. I don't know.
So Melissa, what I'm envisioning is our teachers. This is my envision. We haven't talked at all as a group, my staff, but I'm envisioning that all of our teachers will call every single parent and say, where are you at with this? And if there are people who really do want to do online only, we might create a whole group, a separate group that's not necessarily the class they registered for, but a separate group, so there isn't that difference. I'm only thinking that because that's some of the feedback we got in the spring when we did a parent survey, that there would be parents who don't want to come in person, and that really did work for them. Parents of infants, that worked for very well, and a lot of other parents that worked for. So that's what I'm envisioning at this point, but who knows, it could change 16 times.
And as being in a smaller district up north, it's hard to know because our program is small. We don't have jiggle room. So I heard from Deborah last week that Bloomington's going to try to do, like, I don't know if you're still doing this, but you were going to do like 4 at this time, 4 at this time, 4 at this time, but then do a virtual class in the afternoon. Like for us, we don't have that way to do that. Like it's either going to have to be basically an all or nothing, because we just don't have room. We just don't have the resources to do some of this stuff. So that's where we're having a hard time trying to figure out what's going to work best for us. And we really lost a lot of families when we went to all online. We lost a lot of families, which is so sad. So there's got to be some way we can do a connection piece first before we really get into, no, but it has to go all online. And then I was thinking too about the whole thing about, well, how would people feel coming to class, and then others people feeling like, why are you coming to class? I think about that too. Like, it's almost like your mask, right? Some people wear masks and some people don't. And you get the eyes, you get, from the people that are all completely masked and gloved and all that. And you get people that just choose not to go out as often or not to wear your mask. So it's hard.
I might just ask, because I'm processing this also as an instructor, and I think what the instructor's role is in neutralizing that climate. I mean, one of the things that we have sort of a small dose of power is as like the place parents are coming to, and the ones that are, because you guys do this too, like what are the ground rules? What are our community, how are we operating together as a community, and what do we value and how do we respect each other, and that kind of thing. So if we facilitate that discussion, I'm anticipating in the fall, because I don't know what I'm going to get from my students either, but is that it's kind of my role, I think, to facilitate those discussions. So everybody is welcome in the community, however they're able to participate, and we're just trying to be flexible and, that kind of thing. So I was just wondering, I get those tensions, but I also wonder what our role is as instructors to help facilitate those conversations.
I think that's why we're looking at offering, parent ed in a number of different ways. Well, the 3 different ways that there are: the online, the in-person, or the asynchronous. And those are just going to be separate to or else they'll be in class with their child. So our children's teachers would be in the classroom with our families from infant 1 to 2s, 2s to 3s. And then we haven't really decided whether or not we want to do this, but the separation of just dropping your child off, depending upon how many kids are allowed in the classroom, we would probably only do 3 to 5s, because what we were talking about today was that if we had a drop-off or a separation class where it was just separation and then the parents go into a classroom for parent discussion, if that child if there's a child that is not separating well, and we have limited resources as far as not having our assistants in the classroom like we normally would, that parent would have to be called into the hallway and then the teacher would have to manage not only the kids, but the transfer or the transition of saying goodbye to that family, because the adult's not going to be allowed in that classroom. So we had to increase the age in which we are looking at that separation class and have it clearly identified in our marketing that this is a separating class for families who are comfortable and able to separate. And then also have that parent discussion time. So yeah, trying to manage all of that. And then we're also working with our ECSE program in our collaboration classes that we normally do too. So that's a whole nother bundle of confusion. Sarah, did you have a question for me?
I do. Thank you. So you are offering parent ed that 3 choices for parent ed. So online synchronous, online asynchronous, and in-person with social distancing. But that is, if I'm understanding you correctly, there's no parent-child interaction time in person. So everything that's happening with kids at school is children only?
No. So we have 3 parts to the children's teacher component as well. So there's a family component where it's 1 parent and 1 child. So depending upon how many we have situated or how many we're allowed to have in the classroom, we have an infant classroom, parent child. So up to 4 families. Well, wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah. 4 families. And then the parent ed for an infant class. for the children's teachers, they would have the 1 to 2s and the 2s to 3s with the parent and the child in that classroom and the teacher. So up to 4 families there. And then our collaboration classes, that's where we're kind of getting stuck, because unless things are allowed to be opened up, we don't know that we can do a collaboration class with ECSE, simply because the ratios, we try to keep the ratios the same to special ed, to ECFE class or ECFE families, so that the ratios are similar. So unless that increases, I don't know if our collaboration classes will be able to be run for the younger ages.
We actually talked about not even offering a 3 to 5s option this year for ECFE, because they're already going to be gathering in preschool classrooms. Most of our families that participate send their children there. And then when they come back for 3 to 5s, they would be mixing with new parents, new students, new teachers. And so we thought that was kind of a double exposure situation for them. So we're planning, I shouldn't say we are offering, because we have no idea what we're actually offering yet, but we're planning for the 3s to 5s to do just a parenting session for 3s to 5s without the collaboration piece of students there.
So are you doing any class without parents?
We'll have our preschool classes without parents. Like our regular, we're connected right to all of our 3 to 5s preschool classes. Those will still happen, but we'll just offer the parenting as a separate thing through ECFE with only parenting. We used to offer one that we called Little Learners, that they could come on. We have classes Monday through Thursday for our 3-year-olds. So Fridays we had our Little Learners, so they could come with their kids and play with their kids during that time, and then separate for the parenting. We just won't offer that time together. We'll just offer the parenting piece of that.
Has anybody talked about price points, how they're going to, no, okay. Because I know there was some chatter on the Facebook group about charging, how much we would charge for virtual learning. And I'm kind of hearing, some people are like, nope, we're not going to charge the same. In our district, we're talking about charging exactly the same as an in-person class. And I just don't know that parents are going to pay. In Northfield, I think our class, we have sliding fee scale, but if you are in the, $50,000, $75,000 bracket, you're paying $100 for a class. And, the experience is different. There's no art, there's no, circle time. I'm talking about if we go to strict distance learning. So I'm just really curious if anyone is just considering charging a lesser fee for those classes. And maybe, I know I saw some of you shake your heads, you haven't even thought about it yet, but I personally feel that virtual only should cost less. But I think that's not going to be the case. I don't know.
So for our summer programs, we didn't really know what to charge either. And it is still all sliding. And we have some families that opted not to pay anything, and because people are getting laid off and everything. But I think, I know art classes for summer were only $25. Sounds pretty minimal, but given the situation, I don't know what else you could ask for. It was a 6-week class, and I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what others have to say.
I think that sounds very affordable. I think and I don't remember how much. I think we were having a one-time virtual class. No one signed up for it, but it was $25 for a 2-hour thing. And I just thought that was way too much money, and perhaps why no one signed up for it.
I think we're just going to keep our sliding fee scale the same. And, we have on there for people to, pay what they can afford. But we did talk about, instead of having the list of income and then, the sliding fee scale based on that is, just to still have the sliding fee scale and have people just choose without that. So I don't know which way we're going to end up, but we talked about that this morning.
I wonder about kind of like what you said, Deborah, like keep your sliding fee scale and show what it would have been, but then maybe have other options, like what can your family commit to or something like that, so that they can, it's almost like a free will donation, but at least it's a commitment. And if they can, they can, they can't, they can't, but just like remind them of like, you used to pay this much. We still need that money. However, we understand what can you commit to.
One of the
And I
things
think there's going to be so many decisions that parents are going to have to make when they're registering. That's kind of one of my biggest concerns is, we're going to have all these options and we need to, but I don't want the pay to be complicated either. I'm trying to like make this registration process as simple as possible, which I'm not feeling good about it because I think there's just so many decisions to make versus what it used to be. So I think people will pay what they can, I get the, doing something virtual should be cheaper. But, if people know that they can choose whatever they want to pay anyway, that might help, because seriously, the teacher's probably going to have to do as much or if not more prep anyway in the process. So it's a good question though.
I would wonder.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's actually one of the things, Deborah, that I talked about with my teacher, is that I don't think they do need quite the same amount of prep. And maybe I'm thinking more of the preschool class than the ECFE class in this aspect, but really when you're doing a virtual, there's a lot of parts of the day that you're not going to do virtually. So it reduces the amount of time that you really are putting into your day. You still have to do your circle time, you're still doing that, but a lot of that free choice time of them running around, you're not gonna be able to control that virtually. So that amount of time is really taken out of your day. The planning a lot of planning in my experience as an early childhood teacher is setting up the area for the early childhood kids. And you don't have that virtually. So I do think that it actually reduces a little, it's prepping in a different kind of way, but if you're still gonna virtually do your circle time, that shouldn't be much different than it always was for you, except for now the kids aren't actually in front of you. So I talked about the fact that really it could reduce some of the amount of time that the teachers, this is what you're paid for now, is to do these aspects. And maybe they don't get as many hours and as much time, and that sucks, but it might be the reality of it.
I guess I was looking at, I think doing song time, wouldn't take that much time, but, if you're reading a story, I've had some of the early childhood teachers, like one teacher did going on the bear hunt, and like she went out into finding all of those areas within her community to do one story. And, and I don't know exactly, if we're going to do this the same in the fall, but, all of our early childhood teachers and parent educators, we followed our standards, and, so we were digging into that and having activities for families, but they were based on our standards. And so a lot of the behind the scenes to make it look really simple was still happening. So I don't want to discount that for an early childhood teacher just because they're not setting up an activity to do at the table. So yeah, I guess you have to look at what's going to happen virtually and what will it take to set that up.
Well, I'm kind of thinking about supplies too. I mean, when you think about it, they're not paying for supplies. I feel like we could at least take off a little bit of money because they aren't using paint, they aren't using paper. You know what I mean? And even if we just cut off a little bit of money to make it seem like, yeah, it's not, and not, you know, because we are still prepping, you know, I love that idea of the bear hunt and going out in the community. I think that's awesome, because some of us are totally busting our behinds making this work in a way that's, you know, reaching our families and interesting. And for some that takes more prep time, but I really do feel like we could discount a little bit for the amount of materials that are not being used. Because I mean, it's not the same experience, but I don't know. I maybe feel too strongly about this. I really feel like we have to look at the families. I love, Jen, your idea of saying, hey, here's what you could pay for. But I feel like we have to make a little bit of an effort to say, we know this isn't the same experience, and here's what we're going to do for you. And we're going to reduce the cost by 10%, just 10%. It looks like something better than nothing.
What I was going to say is just it kind of based on that, Ellen, is from the surveys we have from families from the spring. You know, one of the questions that we asked was compared to, you know, your experience this spring compared to the face-to-face experience, right? And so one thing, and maybe because I'm married to an economist and I know all these economists who like talk about labor costs and things like that, is from a consumer standpoint is what will parents value, right? What is the product that parents are believing they're getting for what they're paying for? And so I know for a lot of you have returning families. And so some of what they're going to get I'll ask this then, will what they're going to get when they sign up for the fall, will it be what they got in the spring? Because that's going to be in their mind of, this was the quality that I received. And is this, you know, what we mostly learned from the parents was the video conferencing, the Zoom, the Google Meets, and that type of thing for parent discussion, that went pretty well, right? Not so much for their children's experiences, because they're much more used to the face-to-face and engaging with other children and that sort of thing. So on one hand, it could be selling them on if it's going to be a different product, if you're doing something differently, if maybe your teachers are moving from doing a storybook, sitting on some steps, to going out into the community and making it a much more enhanced interactive experience, you know. So one thing might be parents perceive value based on what they had in the fall. The other thing that has come up quite frequently is your idea about engaging new families. And what will their perception be? Because ECFE for decades has a very strong word of mouth that I think has brought families in, and then a bigger effort has been around attracting maybe families of color or new families in the area or whatever to ECFE. And so I think a second market might be just those families who then are like, so what am I buying for this? I mean, there's all the stuff going around, you know, college kids at Harvard are still going to have all their classes online, but they're still paying $48,000 tuition, you know. So I'll just interject from a standpoint of a consumer. And Ellen, I agree with you, is that shaving some off, you know, may help that perception of, if I can't have the face-to-face experience, or if I have to wait my turn because class sizes are smaller and I can't go every Tuesday like I used to do, and now I've got to go every other Tuesday or something like that, that it might affect, you know, some of that perception by families. Because I can guarantee you from the other side, your administrators are thinking, we absolutely should be paying the same, because salaries for our professionals aren't changing. If I'm still paying my teachers and I'm still paying the assistants, if my staff costs haven't budged, somehow that revenue's got to come in, right?
No, I really appreciate this discussion. The other thing can I throw in is we have talked about doing like supply bags for families if we have to do virtual, you know, with the Play-Doh and the chalk and the you know, crayons or markers or whatever families need, so that they can, you know, participate in some of the activities. Has anybody talked about that or thought about doing that?
That's what we've done in our summer classes, all of our summer classes. So before they even started, our children's teachers put together the bags. And so that's why I was saying, I kind of put it in the chat too, that, you know, I feel like even though their time is reduced in the classes because the class itself online has only been about 45 minutes, we've allowed and accommodated our staff what's different than standard, because they are making those bags. They're there to do a drive-by so that parents can just come and pick them up. So they're using their time that way. And so it all seems to be balancing out. Because yeah, they're going above and beyond too.
In St. Paul this spring, we gave away, for some families, weekly bags, for some families, monthly bags with supplies and a book, even. Free.
And did families come and pick up those bags, or were there bags that were delivered maybe to an apartment complex? Or
In St. Paul, it was both and. Some sites, we knew our families had, you know, they could get to the site. We did drive-bys, and I wore tutus and, you know, had some fun. And for some of the other sites, for the families that we know we were typically transporting them already, then we were doing deliveries.
Okay.
We were
okay, so you
every
did both.
week.
We did the same. I mean, we our teachers put together the 6-week bag though, so that we tried to minimize the exposure or the contact with the unknowns during the summer. So, and there was no charge.
So from the idiot question for me is, so these bags, so is this like 6 weeks of activities and then each week there's an activity? So then with my child, I pull out week 1, week 2, week 3. So I have the materials to engage in the activity. Okay.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, the teachers even went through too, like they put together, in this bag you'll find week 1, and they'll identify the items within the bag that you would pull out. And so that's very time consuming too. So we didn't feel like taking any time away from the children's teacher was appropriate, because they're putting all that time in to put them together.
I was thinking that we might look at what they are getting rather than what they're not getting anymore. And this conversation really highlights that. So in 196, we're talking about the pieces that make up the whole of getting those 3 components. And, you know, we're also talking about that hybrid model of some in person and some on Zoom. We're not sure how the registration process will go with that. We're struggling. And then early childhood teachers are planning to put out digital material related to what was experienced in the class or on Zoom that week. So, you know, videoed material of some kind. And then we're also talking about family learning kits. We're going to call them family learning kits. And that they would be also tied, like you said, each week. And then we're also talking about, if you're registered for a class, you could join one of like 5 or 6 choices for a parent support group that would meet. We're trying to strategically put them on the calendar so they're at either like lunchtime if you're at work, you can pop in, or nap time, or you know, later in the evening when kids might be in bed. So if you're, in addition to your class that you're going to, which are going to be shorter, like it's going to be tricky to get all of, you know, what we want to accomplish in a short class. But so when you add up all of those things that we're planning to offer parents, we're offering fewer classes because we think it will take more time to do all of that. It sure sounds like a decent deal based on our old fee scale. So we're still struggling with that. But, you know, if you think about what you are offering and highlighting what people are getting and value what you do as a professional, like you all have amazing skills that are worth something. And not to say that, you know, we have to charge everybody all kinds of money, because it's always a sliding fee scale and it's always an option to pay what you can. And maybe highlighting it this year is more important. But anyway.
Christy, I'm sorry, can you explain, so the parents can pop in anytime, but then is it just parent-child time together in those sections? Are parents not coming to the classes that they're signing?
Parents are coming to the classes, but they're only going to be about an hour long. So we're going to try to get all the components in,
Okay, I see.
you know, in that hour. And we know that parents need more time than a 30 or 25-minute discussion. And if they're on Zoom, then their children are with them, and it's harder to, you know, use the words that are on your mind to describe what you're going through and to pay attention. And so we're just thinking about offering, you know, throughout the week those, and no matter what class you're registered for, you can choose one to come to. We don't have all the details in place, but it's getting there.
One of the things we were talking about, Christy, around that, parents not really being able to engage when it's only an hour long and their kids are around and whatnot. For the online class, thinking about me and the early childhood teacher getting together, it would all be completely online is what this option is going to be, where the early childhood teacher would read a story and me and my puppet are going to listen to it and interact with her, and then interact with them on Zoom or whatever it is. And then as the parent educator for that class, I would then ask the parents what works best for them for us to re-meet again on that same Zoom meeting or whatever. And we would do it over nap time or after the kids have gone to bed, or whatever works best for those individual groups. So that was kind of my online thought, to try and save that, because that was one of the feedbacks I heard in a previous meeting here for people that were doing online classes, was that telling them, okay, now have your kids go play and you stay here and talk parenting, and they weren't able to engage in that parenting as much. So.
I have another question about, if it's okay to ask something about infant classes. Our ECFE team met today, and you know, when we started early June, we're talking about the fall, we said, you know, no, all of our infant classes are going to be online. We're going to keep them virtual. We did a parent survey, and people who did have, you know, young ones were talking about that they would prefer virtual. But we also had a teacher today say, well, you know, if it's like a birth to 6-month class, the babies aren't really crawling around on top of each other. They'll be able to keep some distance. That, you know, maybe we should look at doing some infant classes on site. And so I'd love to get people's feedback about what you're doing with families with babies.
We have a newborn program for birth to 12 weeks that goes year round. I went completely virtual when everything shut down, and then we met once in person outdoors in the backyard behind our space. I had 7 moms attend. We sat 6 feet apart, and we will continue to do it. I canceled it last Monday for rain. I canceled it yesterday because the heat index was supposed to be 95 and then it wasn't. But we're going to plan to do it in person because those moms are desperate to get out of the house. Public health is there to weigh the babies. And so we're going to try to do it outdoors for as long as possible. And then if we can be indoors, to have a smaller class, because with those newborn moms, I'm really concerned about postpartum mental health. They're super isolated. So honestly, I feel personally, if we have any in-class options, it should be for those moms with in-arms babies. And right now we're planning on having my baby and me class, which is 3 to 12 months, in person. And if the moms have to keep those babies like in their general area, but we're planning on having those in person. But I really feel like those newer moms do need a lot of support right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
will the, sorry, hang on. No, okay. Will the guidelines that come down in terms of spacing and all of that affect? So if you, so probably by November, you'll bring those moms in, Ellen.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the other reason we're having it outdoors is because our program is moving buildings.
Mhm.
And we don't have any space indoors to meet right now that's big enough. We're actually moving to a new building that has more space. We're probably doubling our classroom sizes. So, you know, if we're going to have in-person classes for ECFE, then I would offer in-person classes for those newborn moms, and we would be masked. But again, who knows what maybe they're going to cancel, you know, groups of over 5. I don't, you know, we'll wait and see. But we like to be outside for as much as possible. But yeah, there will come a point when I can't do it outside anymore. So it's all up in the air.
Are you wearing a mask while you're outside too?
We take masks off once we are outside and spaced appropriately apart. And I asked everybody in an email, what would you like? Would you like us to be masked or not masked? And all 7 moms said, I'm fine being outdoors and unmasked. So, and we were all spread wide apart, you know, very wide, far apart. So, and that was what they were comfortable with. So.
Ellen, did you say that you did do some online first and you just felt like the need for being in person was more there?
Yeah, so this is a program that's been going on for 15 years. We collaborate with the hospital and public health. We do this in Faribault it's in Faribault and Northfield, so it's our county program. But my lactation consultant and public health nurse were like, you know, it'd be really great to see these moms in person. So it was we decided, let's just try it. And I also offered it on Zoom. So I have already had a little experience having people in a group and having my computer sitting next to me and turning the camera for people. So I've had a little bit of experience with trying to doing the hybrid model. So like I said, it's just been 1 week, but we just decided we'd try it and see. And, you know, 7 moms participated in person and 1 mom did it through Zoom. So we are offering it both options.
Can I also ask, do you do the weigh-ins like before the class starts, after the class starts? We have the amazing newborn clinic that happens in our building as well. And parents come in throughout the 2-hour period. And I used to have a class when we had consistent parents coming to that, but we didn't really find the right time because I don't want to take away from them having their thing. So I was just curious if they weigh before or after.
So the class has always been 10:30 to 12, and we do just 10:30 to 11. Moms come in, they weigh their babies, they get them dressed, they chat amongst themselves, and at 11 we have a formal discussion until noon. And I have a 12-week curriculum rotation that I run through, and I have guest speakers and things come in. So the guest speakers have completely fallen off. Some of them have been furloughed. So I'm just doing it all, you know, public health and lactation and I are kind of doing the postpartum discussion. We're doing that on our own without a speaker. The tummy time discussion, we're doing that without our PT. So.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just have another question. I'm so sorry to have so much, but
so Deborah, you do know that you're using up your allotted questions today. And so for future reference, I'm making note. So just saying, go ahead.
Put me on that list. we had a work group meeting with our ECFE teachers, and then our new director was there, and then the community ed director was there. And so I'm like, sure, I can check on all this stuff. Anyway, this is just a sidebar, because I know you guys have talked about this a lot, but in our district, it was like, you know, we couldn't do any virtual classes. We can't use Zoom. We can't use this or that. And so we're going to use Google Meet in the fall. But we were talking and somebody brought up about Parentopia. And so if there's just anybody has used Parentopia in ECFE and has feedback, not today, I know that you guys have talked about this a lot, but our community ed director is actually willing to check and possibly allow us to use it. So I was like, really? So I would just love to find out more about it and what I do to learn and explore that as an option for us in Bloomington. Like, I'm so surprised.
Well, Deb, I'm happy to talk to you or your community ed director all about it, give you information about how we designed it and the testing we've done on it and security and all of that. Several people on the call, Sharon, Melissa, especially have been active users of it. Christy and 196, they've been using it, and they can all speak to, I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, and we can talk about it later, if you want. The nutshell is that I always see it was not designed to be an online learning tool, an exclusively online learning tool. It was designed to supplement the face-to-face, to give families a place for centralized information, for continued discussion, getting information from the calendar, announcements from teachers, with that kind of idea of a hybrid, right? Of an online information communication system that was complementing the face-to-face, because when we designed it, that's what families told us they wanted, was they loved the face-to-face, but they miss seeing each other only once a week, and they loved their teachers, and they wanted their kids to connect with teachers, especially over summer. So we designed this virtual platform. And then this spring with COVID, it's being adapted to serve as kind of a learning management system, to drop in like links for video conferencing and links to Google Docs and links to YouTube and that sort of thing. But if you want, just connect with me separately.
I would love to. Susan.
Yeah, and then, like I said, Melissa, Sharon has been using it really quite a bit in St. Paul. We designed it with ECFE families and staff in St. Paul, and so that's probably the longest airtime we've been using it, but Melissa and Albert Lee. And what is one of the wonderful things about Albert Lee is that while they have ECFE, they've been using it tremendously with their early childhood classrooms, with their preschool classrooms. And I always like that, because part of, I always thought as a parent of a child, say in elementary, was that I would go to PTA meetings and I knew maybe some of the parents from my kids' class, but I didn't know any of the parents from the other classes, right? And so one of the great things with early childhood is you don't need to just use it with parent ed, but it is a great way through early childhood to also bring parents together and across, classes at a site. But anyway, I won't belabor our time here.
I will connect up with you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, here we are at 1 o'clock. Any other quick things anybody want to ask or share or bring up before we close for today? What a great discussion. Oh my gosh. This just like kept going. You guys are on fire. So we'll meet again next week, same time, same Zoom. And my apologies if the first link didn't go. I think I did probably add a little space in there, but you can just bookmark it. This is where we'll meet. So next Tuesday at noon. And then I'll be posting the video on YouTube. And yeah, so.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, everyone. So Deb, did you want to talk anything more about Parentopia, or you just want to leave now and then we'll reconnect later? Or I have links to like a demo video.
I just saw I was on. I was mute. No, I was trying to read the chats.
Oh,
that's why I'm still on here. You know what? I think I'm going to talk to Jake, who's our community ed director, and